I like to follow up. I did a demo on drilling holes and then putting thread on my wheel head so that I will be able to fit my smaller bed on the wheel head. Today I want to show you. So I have cut my pins into a shorter one, so it will be easier. You don't need to have lots of effort to put it in for a long time because it's shorter. The regular one is like this long, and I just cut it into a shorter piece. So, but just by using my hand to tighten it, that's it. And you don't need to go underneath and do that. Okay, so that's the benefit of it versus the original ones. They insert and then there's a butterfly twist to tighten it up. But with the thread on, it's easier. Okay, that's one benefit. And also people are worried about the bed is not fitting. Actually, if you have a bed, just use a drill bit and to widen it, or maybe do a little bit adjustment, and then it will fit nicely like that. It's very tight and easy. Or if your hole is too big, then there's another material that you could use. Okay, this is called absorber. You can get it easily from Walmart or Home Depot. They sell the sheet. It's called absorber. Absorber, like this. Okay, absorber, and they come with the very large sheet, and then I just wet it, and then you can use a scissor to cut to the size you fit. And also I make the chamois. This is using as the chamois too, so it's very inexpensive. I just checked it; it's about $11-12. So then you can make a lot of them. The so-called back gripper. Okay, people are selling, I don't know whatever the price, but this was a cheaper alternative, and I have made lots of them too. So check it out. Okay, very good material. All right. So if you're worried about the bed is getting too loose, okay, maybe your hole has been used for a long time, a bed is loose or wobbly. Just simply put the material here, and you wet it and squeeze out the water. And this material is kind of create a friction, so even your bed sit down there loosely, but when it's sitting on, even your bed is loosely, but when you sit it on the absorber, your bed is going nowhere, and you can throw. Okay, so that's very a good tip for you, and very inexpensive way. All right, so let's start the demo. I'm going to make a plate, and when you are making the plate, the base is wider, so you won't be able to pick it up right away, so you need to have a bed. And to start with this way, we call slab centering. You kind of moving your clay into the center, so it will be a lot effortless when you try to center your piece. Okay, this is very good technique before you start it, making sure that you kind of pound your clay and then spin the wheel a little bit and adjust it, so it will be less effort to center. See that? It's almost in the center. A little bit of water, that's enough. Make it slippery, because water in between your hand and the clay, it creates slip, and that slip is going to be very slippery. So, and for making plate, usually you want to widen the base. So the first thing you want to do is keep on pushing it out, especially the very bottom, the bottom corner. So you need to have quite a bit of width before you open up your hole. All right, and then reuse the slip. Right, so this should be wide enough for my clay. My clay is about 3 pounds. And then I start to drill the hole from the center. I usually like to have a taller foot, so I will leave my clay a tiny little bit thicker. You can check it. Use just a needle tool. Okay. So that's about the thickness I usually do. Little bit more than 1/4 of an inch. Okay, between maybe even 1/2 of an inch. So depending on how tall you want to leave your foot. All right, so that should be enough. Then what I'm doing is using my thumb to push that clay. My right thumb, and then left hand is helping it. Okay. Before I move the clay, use the fingertip to even out the base. You don't curve your finger too much, okay? Try to use the pad of your fingertips, and then just start it from the center and slowly, gradually move out. And here is still quite a bit of a clay, so I'm going to keep on pushing it. Right, so I start from the center and then slowly push out the clay, and then the clay is kind of gathering here. So I'm going to start to lift it up first, and then slowly push it out to make it into a plate. Right, I'm using my metal rib to take care of the outside, and kind of slightly bending the rib, and then slightly push the clay. Right, so that's the outside been taken care of. Now the inside is not quite smooth yet, so I'm going to use the rib to compress it. So I have 3 different sizes of the ribs, 5 inches, 4 inches, and 3 inches. I think the size is fitting on my 4 inches rib, so I will use 4 inches rib to compress. Right, so using the rib, put the fingers on the 3 holes, and then hold it for the platter, I'm holding my rib more horizontal. If you are making a bowl, then you can hold it more vertical, but for making a plate, hold it more horizontal, and then slowly start from the center and then gradually go out and compress it. The special design for this rib is that there's no sharp angle, so it doesn't catch the clay, right? So if I even go over the center point on my left hand side, still okay. Right, so compress it. And there's a lot of wooden texture. Sometimes if you don't like the wooden texture, you could use a rib to the final cleaning. But when you are ribbing using a sharp edge of a rib, a flexible rib, make sure you don't cross over the center point. Okay, maybe a 1/4 inch, 1/8 of inch away from it. How about the very center point? There are two ways I usually do. They use a thumb. Just do that. Or you can use a ribbon, just run through very quick. You take care of it first, the center point, and then you go away from it. So if you are using the rib to compress the very center point, to compress the plate, make sure you don't want to hold the rib so too vertical. You want to hold the rib more horizontal. So using that to compress, it will be a lot more smoother. Right, and then take care of the rim. I like to have a little bit of a rim hanging out and make it flat. So what I'm doing is put my finger underneath to support it, and then the finger on top slightly push down. So there's a support underneath, and then just rip. Change my hand to left, push that, support it underneath, and then using the rib to right. Well, if you find out the rim is not perfectly round, you can just chop it off, trim it off. To chop it up, first I will use a sponge to remove all the clay on the edge. and run the chamois over. Okay, and also for anything that is very wide base, you have to wire it up before you pick it up from the wheel, because once it's dried, it's super hard to wire it off from the bed. So you want to do it when it's still wet, and it's very easy. Just push your finger against the bed and then slowly spin the wheel. Let the wheel do the job. Right, very easy. Just pick it up. Okay, so that's the plate. Let me cut it so you know that usually I leave my plate. The base fairly thick and thicker, and then it takes a lot of room. So something like 3 pounds, and it's not very wide. Okay, because a lot of clay has been taken by the base. So that's from the side. You will see that. So you trim, make a foot, and then trim there. And if that base is very wide, then you probably need to have a double rim foot, or maybe put a little bit of clay here in the very center. So I will make another one and then show you how I trim it. But just to cut it open to show you how much clay that you need to leave on the bottom. Okay.